Badass East, and we are going to do a bit of a gory zombie effect on our model today, and we're going to be using some prosthetics that we've already prepared in advance. So we're going to be adhering them with adhesives and not making them as much on the spot, and we're just going to get underway. We have a few different prosthetics today that are going to be like scars or rough patches of skin. Some adhesives work better when you paint the prosthetic as well as the skin and you let them dry for a few minutes, so it's a double tack application. I'm using a latex prosthetic adhesive. You can also use spirit gum. Spirit gum can also be, if anything's going to react to somebody's skin, it could be the thing that reacts a little bit, so you may want to check to make sure that your model is not going to react to spirit gum just by applying a little on the wrist, on the inside, and you will know probably within about 10 minutes whether they're going to have a reaction. It's got some pine and different things in it that are a little different than the latex adhesive. I have a little bit of almost a bullet wound, a kind of an open scar, and I'm going to give her just a variety of patchiness to her skin and places where we can really put some detail and texture and blood around. The prosthetics just take away the smoothness of the skin. And they give you that rough texture that you might have when skin is starting to rot. Thank you to my helpful model for holding that. Angela has already got some of her costume done by creating these lovely arms that look like her skin has peeled. First one is relatively dry. There's a little tiny bit left to go, but most of it's dry. So I'm going to tack it in place and just tap it down. This larger one is relatively dry. We can adhere a little bit of this. And then I'm going to go over the edges. Some of it can have a little bit of a lift to it. That's actually not bad. The lift can create a bit of a peeling effect to look like the skin has peeled away. It's not totally a bad thing when you're having a zombie effect of peeling skin. When you're having something where you're having a bullet wound or something that's a little bit more specific of a site, you may want to have those edges really tacked down well so that you don't see the edges. And you can build up a latex or a modeling paste to blend out those lines on the edges of where the prosthetic and the skin meet. These were made out of latex and a little bit of tissue. I'm going to have you hold it one more time. The latex, if you put it on plastic when you're creating some advanced prosthetics, you can create some interesting effects. You can color latex with acrylic paint if you wanted to have some colors in advance that you wanted the prosthetic to be. If you were doing teeth or something where there was an opaque quality to it, having them pre-colored can save a little bit of time. And when you have lines of individuals, if you're doing a large group of people, having your prosthetics made in advance can help things move a little bit faster sometimes. Now, because the prosthetics and the adhesive are a little tacky, it'll dry, but it may not dry completely. Doing a light dusting of powder will help for you to be able to handle them a little bit more. I'm kind of liking that little skin flap there, so I think I'm going to keep that. You may find there's some happy accidents that happen when you're putting on things like this that you decide to use. Oops, that one's sticking my finger instead of your. Try a little more. I'm using a Mayron setting powder. You can probably get a translucent powder from the dollar store, or not the dollar store, Shoppers Drug Mart, or some sort of a place where you're going to get makeup. Any of your makeup locations will sell translucent powder, and you have a bit of a dusting of it will take the shine off the face, and it'll usually keep the color that you want underneath. We've got a little on Angela's clothes. It's okay for it to be in her hair because we're going to possibly dirty that up a bit for her full effect. I'm just dusting lightly to make that workable. You dust your prosthetics when you're making them so they don't stick to each other. I'm moving relatively quickly here. If your model's wearing a cape or something, if it's not her costume, you can always not worry about the powder dropping on her clothes. But it dusts clear, just makes it matte, that's all. I'm going to go back to that one in a minute, but I'm going to start covering some other parts of her face. It's going to make it look a little opaque right now, but I'm going to go back in with a combination of some greens and some flesh tones. I'm using water-based right now. Water-based is nice because it gives you a quick application. If you're going to have your costume on for an extended period of time, or you're going to be sweating a lot, you may want to consider some cream-based makeups, which are more like a grease paint, and then you powder those as well. They will last longer. I'm adding a bit of a green tone to the skin just because I'm going to do an ashen gray, sort of a zombie look. You could also use foundation so that it was a skin tone and not quite as whited out. We're doing a very fast application. If you were going to be doing a really great application for a costume, it'll probably take you a half an hour, 45 minutes to do a stronger look. If you've never done a lot of makeup application, it may be about an hour. But we're going to do a really quick application. You can see how that skin looks a little mottled and patchy. We're going to do a little bit of layering. We're going to be bringing her scarf down off of her hair eventually, so I'm just going to cover essentials right at this point. This is a snazaroo with a real grayish green effect. I am going to come back in with a bit of a gray to gray this down a little bit more, and I'm going to use some flesh tone. Close your eyes. Zombies are somewhat dead, I guess, so their skin is not going to have a lot of blood circulating to it. The same way, that's probably some of their need to be eating brains and having such an appetite for it. I was thinking if we had to send them home on the subway today, it would be interesting to see if somebody thought The Walking Dead was happening out there. I'm adding some oranges and some yellows and some pinks to be just a little bit of a skin tone, so that it looks like there's a bit of skin natural colors. And by brushing along the prosthetic, it also pulls out some of those textured spots to make the skin look a bit mottled. I'm gonna add a little bit of a red around the nose, just to look a little irritated. Same with these wounded areas. On some faces I might add latex around the mouth to create a tooth effect. I'm going to pretend today, and we're just going to paint that on. So we're going to paint the mouth in advance and let it, tickling you. I would tell you if I was in clown that that's my tickle brush, it's meant to do that. I'm going to put some red in these wounds. This is going to look a little like burnt skin. This could be a raised skin scab, or this could be a bullet hole, depending on the way you finish it. I would probably build up latex around the mouth a bit, or some modeling paste if I was going to go all out. I'm going to go back into those places and add dark, especially where I want the wounds to look the deepest. It gives you that three-dimensional shadow. Close your eyes. I'm going to follow some of our model's natural creases. I'm sure we exaggerate. It's not, she's very young. There's not that many there, but I'm just going to take advantage of what's showing up because of the paint, especially the white, and follow some of that natural lining. We can blend it out. I'm going to go into the mouth here as well. Add some depth. Now if I was making a pristine image, I would probably do my teeth first so that they were really white. Zombie's teeth kind of look like they're rotting, so I know I can get away with it. But I'm gonna add some dark and the way you paint can make the face look like it's doing things that it's not by making lips that are sagging or chins that are in a different location than they really are. It's all by contours and shading. I'm going to exaggerate around this because it looks nice and raised. We're giving you a little bit of an extreme face paint exaggeration with this one, but it's still relatively easy. You don't have to have a ton of skill to do the painting if you're not 100% sure how to do makeup techniques. Some of this is gluing and you can get away with. I'm going to put a little bit of lines around the skin flaps of these prosthetics to make it look like skin is peeling off. And some pull marks, and we're going to put some red in there as well to make it look like there's some serious irritation going on. Now we're really exaggerating this, and blood is going to be our best friend. I'm going to dirty this up as well a little bit and get some of that texture to come out. We're moving really fast just to create aggravation and irritation looking spots, maybe bruising where the skin's starting to peel away. Maybe make the eye look a little swollen. We're just going to add some blood for a bit of a finished effect with some teeth. We're almost there. Use a very wet blood. I'm going to call this a hungry zombie. Some of that trickling down. I'm sure it's going to feel really gross, feeling that running down your face. Add a little bit of stippling texture of the blood around. Probably been chewing on some brains. If you wouldn't mind closing your eyes, I'm just going to do a little spattering. This is a very fast version of Zombie. I'm going to pull this down over top here. And as I said before, you can use lotion, some powder, because you want the hair to look a little messy and oily and like it's got debris in it. A little bit of sawdust or things of that nature could be cool. Messing it up a bit. He's had a few rough days.